কিছু
আমাদের একদিন শ্রেয়াসী স্যারের ক্লাস দিয়েন স্যার।
হ্যাঁ
শ্রেয়াসী স্যারের ক্লাস দিয়েন স্যার একদিন।
কার এই যে বুঝতে পারছি
শ্রেয়াসী বড়ুয়া স্যার।
হ্যাঁ ওই জন্য যেমন সেকশন একে আর একটু কথা বলি স্যার আছে আমরা তো অফিসে কাজে ক্লাস তো হবে একটু ওয়েট করি এই যে বাইরে থেকে লোক আসছে ফরেনাররা ওনার সাথে একটু কথা বলি
ক্লাস শুরু হলে অসুবিধা নেই স্যার আমরা ওয়েট করছি আমি ওয়েট করছি
আমরা ইচ্ছা করে কিছুই করি না একটু ওয়েট করেন সবাই আসুক অ্যাটেন্ডেন্সও খুব একটা বেশি দেখি না আর 30-40 আচ্ছা আমি যেটা বলতে চাচ্ছি ভয়াবার একটু বলে দিই আপনাদের এটা সেকশন একে যেমন ফিজিক্যাল ক্লাস সুজন কুমার বাবুরে অ্যাকাউন্টিং দিলে আপনাদের হেল্প হবে যদি পারেন আসেন না হলে যেটা দেখা যায় আবার ফিনান্সিয়াল ম্যানেজমেন্টও এগুলো যে একটা করে লাগে না হলে অসুবিধা হয় এবার আজকে রাকেশ বাবুর ভ্যাট পোর্শনটা ফিজিক্যাল ক্লাস হচ্ছে প্রায় দেখলাম 28 জন আসছে 28 স্টুডেন্টস হ্যাভ কাম আর এগুলো মূলত এফএম ফিনান্সিয়াল অ্যাকাউন্টিং রিপোর্টিং এবং ট্যাক্স এগুলো দু একটা ফিজিক্যালি হলে ইউল বি বেনিফিটেড দেখা যাক ভয় ডর নাই আর একটা হচ্ছে কি যে আমরা হ্যাবিচুয়াস হয়ে গেছি তো এখন আর ওয়ার্ল্ডের ট্রেন্ডটা অন্যরকম হয়ে গেছে ইভেন স্কুল কলেজেও অনলাইনে সব প্রোগ্রাম করতেছেন বিদেশে বিশেষ করে তো এখন এগুলোই হয় আমরা বাংলাদেশে এবং সাবকন্টিনেন্টে এখনো প্রাতিষ্ঠানিক শিক্ষার গুরুত্ব রাখি এবং আছে আর বিশেষ করে হাতে কলমে কারো লেখাপড়া বাঙালি বা সাবকন্টিনেন্ট আমরা যারা আছি মূলত এইভাবেই করে থাকি এবং এইভাবে আমাদের যারা পূর্বের প্রসিদ্ধ যশা আপনি কি বললে যে বিদ্যান বলেন শিক্ষাবিদ বলেন শিক্ষাবিদ বলেন তারা স্কুল কলেজে লেখাপড়া করেছে এজন্য আমাদের প্রেক্ষাপটটা একটু ভিন্ন যাই হোক এবার ফুললি ম্যাচিউরড অ্যান্ড নো অল দ্য বেটার কাজে ব্যাখ্যায় না যায় কিছু ক্লাস যে একটা ফিনান্সিয়াল ম্যানেজমেন্টে যেমন ম্যাথ হ্যাঁ তারপর আইএফআরএস এগুলো আপডেট কিছু অ্যাকাউন্টিং রিপোর্টিং ট্যাক্সেশনেরও ইকুয়েশন ম্যাথ এগুলো ফিজিক্যাল হলে ভালো অর্থাৎ 30টা ক্লাসে মিনিমাম 6টা ক্লাস হলে ভালো আর ইয়েতে চলে অনলাইনে আমরা কোভিড থেকে শিক্ষা পাইছি ঠিক আছে কিন্তু বিষয় হলো যে পৃথিবী পাল্টে গেছে এখন অনেক কিছু ইয়ে হয়ে গেছে মানুষের আশা আকাঙ্ক্ষা যেমন ট্রাফিক জ্যাম তারপরে কাজ এই যে সামনাসামনি পাওয়া এগুলো ফিজিক্যাল হয়তো অসুবিধা হয় কিন্তু এখন বুঝে সুঝেই করতে হবে ইনস্টিটিউট ফর দ্য বেটারমেন্ট অফ ইউথস has taken decision যে মিনিমাম 25% ক্লাস ছাত্রদের এবং কিছু কিছু ছাত্র যারা একটু আসসালামু আলাইকুম হ্যাঁ এই যে একজন আমাদের অ্যাডভান্সের আমার ছাত্রী বোন আর কি সে ফিজিক্যাল ক্লাসে কালকে কর্পোরেট রিপোর্টিং এর ক্লাস আছে পুরো ভালো টিচার উনি বলতেছে এটা আসবো না অনলাইনে দেন এখন অনলাইনে দিলে কেউ আসবে না আর টিচার রাজি না, উনি অনলাইনে লিঙ্ক দিতে চান না। এই হলো আপনার ইয়ে। বাট আমি তো ছাত্রের পক্ষে এখন কোন দিকে যাই, কোন রাখি না সাম রাখি। তা আবার অ্যাডভান্সের আজকে যেমন রাকেশ বাবু ফিজিক্যাল হচ্ছে, অনুরূপ কালকে কর্পোরেট রিপোর্টিং, অ্যাডভান্সের সিনাসিস গুলো আপনাদের এগুলো থাক, যেটা চলতেছে চলুক। দু একটা ক্লাস যদি ফিজিক্যালি হয় আপনারা চেষ্টা করেন, ম্যাক্সিমাম অ্যাটেন্ডেন্স তো হয়ে গেছে। আর ফিজিক্যালি হলে বিষয়গুলো তাড়াতাড়ি এক্সপেডাইট হয় সামনাসামনি। আর যারা দূরে আছেন তাদের তো হবে না, চিটাগাঙে থাকলে কেমনে হবে, ঢাকার বাইরে থাকলে কেমনে হবে। কাজেই লেটার ডিক্রিজ দ্য ম্যাটার, বুঝে সুঝে রেকর্ডিং দিয়ে দেওয়া হবে ফিজিক্যালি। এখন আসি আমরা যে এক্সাম, আপনাদের ভিতরে অভয় দূর করি, এটা ভেবেন না যে পরীক্ষা পিছাবে ধরনের চিন্তা করে লেখাপড়া ঢিলা করে লাভ নাই। এই জন্য যে যে সাবজেক্টে পরীক্ষা এনরোল করেছেন করে ফেলেন। আপনি কি বলে যে ক্লাসটা সরি কি বলে যে পরীক্ষাটা দেওয়ার জন্য প্রয়োজনীয় প্রস্তুতি নেন। That means I also request you all ছাত্ররা এখনো ঢুকতে চায় ফিজিক্যাল ক্লাসে, মাহমুদা ম্যাডাম এখন কি বলে বলে 32-34 হয়ে গেল, আমি 28 জন বলে আসছি একটু আগে।
না
যেটা
স্যার, ছেলেদের জন্য তো সমস্যা না, আমাদের দুইটা বাচ্চা নিয়ে এখন অফিস থেকে 7টা বাজে এসে ওখানে রাতের 11টা বাজে ক্লাস করে, কারণ বাজে থেকে বাসায় আসবো কখন স্যার
হ্যাঁ
বলেন?
হ্যাঁ হ্যাঁ ওইটাই বলতে চাইলো আমাদের আরেক ম্যাডাম। তো আসলে বিষয়টা একটু রিজনেবল, আপনার ক্ষেত্রে এদের ক্ষেত্রে একটু রিজনেবল। শুক্র শনিবারে যদি ডে লং ক্লাস হয়, এটা সেই
না
কথা।
স্যার, সেটা আগে আমাদের যদি ইনফর্ম করা হয় না স্যার, তাহলে আমাদের জন্য একটা প্রিপারেশন
না
থাকে।
না
আর
ঠিক
হঠাৎ
আছে,
করে যখন ক্লোজিং এর সময়, তো আমরা নিজেরাও একটু দেখা যায় পড়াশোনায় ব্যস্ত আছি,
আই এগ্রি,
এই জন্য আমরা হঠাৎ করে একটু রিঅ্যাক্ট করছি আসলে স্যার।
আই এগ্রি, বাট ওই ধরনের অসুবিধা করা হবে না, ম্যাক্সিমাম হয়ে গেছে। আচ্ছা আমি দুটো বলি, সেটা হচ্ছে যে আপনার পরীক্ষার যেটা বললাম যে ভ্যালু আমাদের এখানেই হবে, কাজেই আর এটা হয়তো ফার্স্ট উইকেই আপনি, অর্থাৎ নেক্সট উইকে আপনারা অ্যাডমিট কার্ড ইস্যু হবে, কাজেই এইভাবে আপনারা প্রস্তুতি নেন। আর টিচার যেগুলো বলি, যারা যারা সাবজেক্টে আমি দেখলাম তো ম্যাক্সিমামই 2 সাবজেক্ট, এক সাবজেক্ট, ইভেন 3-4 সাবজেক্টের বেশি নাই, 7 সাবজেক্ট খুবই কম নেহায়। তো ইউ হ্যাভ টেকেন ইউর অ্যাপ্রোপ্রিয়েট ডিসিশন বাই মাই পয়েন্ট অফ ভিউ হিয়ার, পয়েন্ট যে 3 সাবজেক্ট ইউ হ্যাভ বিন এনরোলড, ট্রাই টু, এটা এক্সামের কথা বলতেছি, ট্রাই টু অ্যাটেন্ড দেয়ার। এমন না হয় যে শুধু পরীক্ষা ফর্ম ফিল আপ করলাম, এই ধরনের ট্রেন্ডও দেখা গেল, পরীক্ষা দিতে আসে না। তো এটাতে হলে একটু ইমপ্রেস সিচুয়েশন হবে, একটু আমরা খেয়াল রাখবো। আর যেটা হচ্ছে যে মক টেস্ট তো মনে হয় এরা নিচ্ছে না বা নিবে না, আগে ডিআরসিটা নিত। এখানেও বিষয় আছে যে মক টেস্ট একবার নিল, সেখানে ছাত্ররা ওভাবে আসে না, ওই জন্য আমরা ডিজার্টেড। আর সার্টিফিকেট লেভেলের মক টেস্ট যেটা, সেটা অনলাইন সিস্টেমে, তো এই জন্য অতটা এখন আর সেই অবস্থা নেই। তো মূলত অ্যাডভান্স লেভেল এবং প্রফেশনাল লেভেলের জন্য যে একটা মক টেস্ট হওয়া ভালো। আপনারা, আমি সেদিন এই সেকশনে না কোন সেকশনে বললাম যে আই ওয়াজ অলসো প্রেজেন্ট, একটু করে বলে দিই রেকর্ডটা বন্ধ রাখো, কিছু কথা আছে যেটা রেকর্ডিং না হওয়া ভালো। মামুন রেকর্ডিংটা বন্ধ করো, রেকর্ডিং মামুনকে বলো, আমি ওই সুভাষী স্যারের ইয়াতে আছি, আমি রেকর্ডিংটা বন্ধ করো। স্যারকে দিয়ে আমি আর একটা যেতে হবে মাহমুদা ম্যাডাম, যে স্পেশাল ক্লাস হচ্ছে ট্যাক্সেশনে, সেই জায়গায় আমার আজকে বাইরে থেকে কি আসতেছে ওখানে। আচ্ছা আমি রেকর্ডিং বন্ধ, ইয়েস রেকর্ডিং কি বন্ধ না? জি স্যার। হ্যাঁ। ও এমনি আসছে নাকি? না। ও ও মানে ল্যাপটপ একটা দরকার। আচ্ছা আমি 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 দেখতেছি, আমি এখনই করতেছি, 1 মিনিট। একটু জি, ও যেটা বলতে চাচ্ছিলাম শর্টে বলে ফেলি যে স্যার এখনই ঢুকবেন। তো 6টা অর্থাৎ মিনিমাম 3 ইয়ার্স এক্সাম বা 6টা এক্সামে আপনার ওই সলিউশন গুলো এগুলো করে যে যে সাবজেক্টে দিবেন, বাট আনসার শুড বি কারেক্টেড। অনেক কিছু আছে আনসার গুলো যেগুলো আপনাদের সঠিকভাবে হওয়া প্রয়োজন। আইএফআরএস বলেন, আইএসএ বলেন, কোনো ইনফরমেশন বলেন, ট্যাক্স এরিয়া বলেন, আফটার ইউ আর নোন বাট দ্যাট ইজ অর দ্যাট রুলস আর নট কারেক্টেড। আপনি অনেক কিছু জানেন বা ইয়ে আছে কিন্তু দেখা গেল সেগুলো আপনার সঠিক নয়, সেজন্য ইউ আর answering total marks, but answers are not perfect, even fully correct. Near about or also কি বলা যায় যে কনসিকুয়েন্স ক্যারিং দেয়ার, এইভাবে পরীক্ষা ম্যাক্সিমামই দিচ্ছেন। ওই জন্য বোদ্ধাদের সাথে আমার এক ইয়ে হয়েছে একান্তে, সেটা they also advise that the student should have to know actually the correct answers, especially রাইটিং সিকোয়েন্সেস। ওই জন্য পরীক্ষায় আপনারা দিচ্ছেন একটু সঠিকভাবে, টিচার গুলো আপডেটেড, ম্যাক্সিমাম টিচারই ইনারা দে আর ইন প্রফেশনস, ইভেন মাল্টিন্যাশনাল or national organizations job, but good and have the proper knowledge. Okay, তো ওইদিকে খেয়াল রাখি। আর পরীক্ষা তো কাছাকাছি, তো কাজেই মাই ডিয়ার, and we will also leave you. That means we'll create the opportunity to sit for the exam. Minimum 3 days. পরীক্ষা 8 তারিখ, হয়তো আমরা 4-5 পরে আর ক্লাস রাখবো না ফর ইউর পার্সোনাল স্টাডি আর প্রিপারেশন। এজন্য কোনো কিছু ইয়ে লাগলে পরে আই উইল কাম। সময় ইয়ে হয়ে গেছে, আমরা মনে হয় we can also hand over to our respected CEO sir. Adab sir. জন্য no worry, I will come again and talk your need issues or other issues. And now I would like to also hand over this platform to our guardian, আমাদের শ্রদ্ধাভাজন CEO sir কে আমি দেই। আপনারা ক্লাস ক্যারি করেন। হায়াত, please also make the responsive session and help to our today's guest faculty, but their guest faculty, our guardian, our CEO sir. So thank you very much. Actually, this is your session. But there you all third round. That means classes will be on 5th and 6th. Tax planning and compliance. By this time, we have sent the concerned synopsis, all of you. Please take aside or beside all of you and to carry on. Sir, I am your Halim, sir. Please, you also start of your valuable advices to our students. And I would like to get your permission today, please. Sir, please start. Allah Hafiz. Adab, sir.
Okay, thank you. Good evening to everybody and welcome to this session. I believe that I had 2-3 sessions with you before, and this session, I believe one handout has been distributed amongst yourselves, and we will be discussing the issues mentioned in the handout because we have to keep it within our limit of time. So if you have the handout with you at this moment, you can look at it. You will see some issues or problems like number 1, number 2, number 3, something like that. And we start with problem number 1. If you read it, it is Mr. X is a businessman who submitted a return under section 75 showing an income of Taka 50 lakhs for the assessment year 2021 and 2022. Afterwards, he found out that the income was not correct for the income year. he had some other sources of income, like from fisheries, or it may be from any other source, whatever it is. The income of fisheries stood at 25 lakhs. So he decided to revise the return showing the income from the fisheries sector. He submitted to the Deputy Commissioner of Taxes a revised return under Section 78. The Deputy Commissioner of Taxes did not accept the income of fisheries as exempted. So here we can assume that the income from fisheries is exempted, although it is not, but it could be income which is exempted, or it could be income which is subject to at a reduced rate, something like that. So he added that income to the total income, and the total income stood at 85 lakhs. What should be the implication of this income of the SSC? What suggestions would you give to the SSC? So the SSC is a client, and he has approached you with the problem he is now facing, and he has actually stated the issues relating to his assessment. And now, as a practicing chartered accountant, you have to solve the problem or give him suggestion what to do right at this moment. So the issue is, first of all, the SSC, who is your client, submitted the return under Section 75. So you know Section 75. That means the SSC submitted the return within the tax day. That means before or on the tax day. So he could have availed of the opportunity of self-assessment scheme by submitting the return within the tax day. However, afterwards he understood that he had committed some mistakes in the original return submitted by him. And the original return did not include a particular source of income, which was subject to exemption, or which was subject to at a tax rate, reduced tax rate, we should say. So that he understood later on. And he decided to show it in the revised return, which is submitted afterwards under Section 78. So he did it. And the DCT did not accept the income from fisheries or any other exempted income which he showed as exempted one, and added it to the total income of the SSC and taxed it. So the original return actually showed an income of 50 lakhs. And later on, it has also been said that the income from fisheries was 25 lakhs. However, the DCT calculated the income at 85 lakh. 2 minutes বসতে বলা আছে. So 85 lakh was the assessed income by the Deputy Commissioner of Taxes. So here are the issues. The issue is exempted income or income at a reduced rate was not accepted by the Deputy Commissioner of Taxes. And again, the Deputy Commissioner of Taxes enhanced the income from the fisheries sector, which was not 25 lakhs as shown by the SSC, rather it was enhanced to 35 lakhs. So there are three issues here. And which sections are related to that? Please think of it and just give me your opinion. Okay, have you got some idea with regard to that? So if you look at section 1931, what is said there? If you look at section 1931, let us see what is said in section 1931, which is very relevant for this. If you have the income tax ordinance with you, you can have a look at it, where an SSC files a revised return or an amended return under sections 78, 82BB, or 93, and shows in such revised return or amended return any income that is subject to tax exemption or at a reduced tax rate, or any income derived from the sources mentioned in paragraph 33 of Part A of the 6th schedule. So much of such income as exceeds the amount shown in the original return shall be deemed to be the income of the SSC for that income year, classifiable under the head income from other sources. So if you have any exempted income, or if you have any income to be taxed at a reduced rate, or if an income as per paragraph 33 of Part A of the 6th schedule. So if you look at the paragraph 33 of Part A of the 6th schedule, it has mentioned about some of the sources of income, like maybe website development, animation services income, call center income, medical prescription transmission income. So many incomes are there. If you look at that, you will see there are different sources of income. Paragraph 33 of Part A of the 6th schedule. So here you will see a number of sources of income, because this is related to digitization or digitalization program of the government. So that's why these incomes have been exempted from tax. And it is said here, any income derived from the following business of a person, being a resident or a non-resident Bangladeshi, for the period from the 1st day of July 2008 to the 30th day of June 2024, on the conditions that the person shall file income tax return in accordance with the provisions of section 75. What are the incomes? Software development, software or application customization, nationwide telecommunication transmission network, digital content development and management, digital animation development, website development, website services, web listing, IT process outsourcing, website hosting, digital graphics design, digital data entry and processing, digital data analytics, geographic information services, IT support and software maintenance service, software test lab services, call center service, overseas medical transcription, search engine optimization services, document conversion, imaging and digital archiving, robotics process outsourcing, cyber security services, cloud service, system integration, e-learning platform, ebook publications, mobile application development service, and IT freelancing. So it comes from any of the sources during the period from the 1st day of July 2008 and the 30th day of June 2024. If the income is derived during that period, it will be exempted from tax. So if any of these sources of income is included in the revised return, which was not earlier included in the original return. In that case, the Deputy Commissioner of Taxes will not accept this part of the income which has been shown in the revised return as exempted from tax. Rather, he will assess this income to tax. So that's the issue. And this is very important for you to remember in terms of advice given to the SSC, because SSC would not be able to know about it. So before submission of the return, you have to advise it that if you have any income under these sources, you have to mention it in the original return, not afterwards in the revised return. So that's the case. Here, the original return showed an income of 50 lakhs. But in the revised return, total income was shown at 75 lakhs. However, 25 lakh taka was exempted income. We assume it here. But the DCT rejected the exempted income and he assessed it to tax. And again, he enhanced the income to 35 lakhs. So what should be your suggestion? The suggestion should be that the addition of taka 10 lakh by the DCT and enhancing the total income to taka 85 lakhs was not justified. So this 10 lakh taka could be reduced by the appellate authority so that an appeal could be preferred by the SSC himself or by any representative of the SSC. But the action taken by the DCT in case of not accepting the exempted income as claimed by the SSC was justified. That was not a problem at all. So the DCT's action in this case was justified. However, his enhancement of the income to 35 lakhs from 25 lakh was not justified. So that is the solution to this problem. You can advise the SSC in that way, that preferring an appeal against the action taken with the DCT could not be tenable in law, but only the enhancement of income made by the SSC could be reduced. That means by an amount of 10 lakhs, that could be reduced. We can move to issue number 2, or question number 2, or problem number 2. Here it is said that XYZ is a private limited company which has got a capital of 5 crores. The company earned an income of 50 lakhs for the income year 2020 and 2021. The company felt the necessity of buying 2 jeeps from the Pragati Limited for company's operational activity and official use. The company had an accumulated reserve of 50 lakhs. The cost of 2 jeeps was 1 crore 40 lakhs, 70 lakh each. What should be the treatment of this transaction from the perspective of income tax by the Deputy Commissioner of Taxes? What should be the income of the company for the assessment year 2021 and 2022? Assume that the tax rate of the company is 45%. What should be the calculation of tax to be made by the Deputy Commissioner of Taxes? So this problem is relating to the purchase of motor cars or jeeps by a company, private company. And some information is given here with regard to the paid up capital, as well as with regard to the accumulated reserve. So these pieces of information are mentioned here. With these information, you would be giving a decision to the SSC. What would be his implication on income if the DCT determines his tax or total income after submission of the return with this information, because information has been given. Here, the assessee will be showing purchase of 2 cars or purchase of 2 jeeps at an amount of taka 1 crore 40 lakhs. And the cost of each jeep would be 70 lakhs. It has been mentioned here. So whether there is any implication on the income of the assessee in terms of tax or not. So that is the question. Think of it, then please tell me. So this is a policy adopted by the taxes department in order to restrict the purchase of cars at higher prices. Sometimes companies purchase cars, very luxurious cars, and high CC cars costing a lot of money from the company fund. So in order to restrict the purchase of the cars or jeeps by the company at a higher price, the policy has been formulated by the government to restrain it. Which section should I consult? If you have the income tax ordinance with you, please look at section 1927. So if you look at section 1927, you will see where an assessee, being a company, purchases directly or on hire 1 or more motor car or jeep, and value of any motor car or jeep exceeds 10% of its paid up capital, together with reserve and accumulated profit, then 50% of the amount that exceeds such 10% of the paid up capital, together with reserve and accumulated profit, shall be deemed to be the income of such assessee for that income year, classifiable under the head income from other sources. So assessee should be a company, and it can directly purchase or on hire 1 or more motor cars or jeeps. And if the value of the motor car or jeep exceeds 10% of the paid up capital plus accumulated reserve. So here you have been given that information. The paid up capital is 5 crores taka, and accumulated reserve is taka 50 lakhs. So altogether, this is 5 crores 50 lakhs, and 10% of this figure should be 55 lakhs. So when the value of a jeep or a motor car exceeds that figure, that is 10% of paid up capital plus accumulated reserve. So here, if you think that the car has been purchased at taka 70 lakhs, and you have to calculate the difference, 70 lakhs minus 55 lakhs. 55 lakhs means 10% of the paid up capital plus accumulated reserve. So the difference is 15 lakhs, I believe. So this 15 lakhs taka, 50% of this amount, that means 7 lakhs 50,000 taka would be added as income from other source of the company. So this is one question, but another question is the company has purchased 2 cars or jeeps together, and the value of the 2 jeeps is taka 1 crore 40 lakhs. So if you think that, okay, 2 jeeps have been purchased together and 10% of paid up capital plus accumulated reserve is taka 55 lakhs, then you have to calculate the difference between 1 crore 40 lakhs minus 55 lakhs. So it becomes something different. It should be, I think, 85 lakhs. And 50% of 85 lakhs, that means 42 lakhs 50,000 would be treated as income from other source under section 33, read with this section 1927. But a clarification was given by the National Board of Revenue in 2011 with regard to that. And in that clarification, the board said that the value of individual car has to be calculated. And the provision has to apply to an individual car or individual jeep. So in that case, the value of jeep has to be considered separately. So if you purchase 5 jeeps or if you purchase 5 cars, you have to calculate the value of the jeep and whether it exceeds the 10% of paid up capital plus accumulated reserve, that has to be calculated separately. So this clarification says like that. However, in my opinion, the legal language here in section 1927 is not correct. So this language should be changed. What language is the problematic one? The problematic language is the value of any motor car or jeep. The value of any motor car or jeep exceeds 10% of its paid up capital together with reserve and accumulated profit. Value of any motor car. So what do you mean by any motor car? Any does not mean an individual or a single motor car. It does not mean. Any motor car mean it could be a Mercedes-Benz, it could be a BMW, it could be Maserati, it could be Ferrari, it could be Rolls-Royce, even it could be Toyota or Volkswagen. So any motor car or jeep. So I would interpret it in that way. If it is so, then the language is not correct here. So the correct language should be the value of an individual motor car or jeep exceeds 10% of the paid up capital together with reserve and accumulated profit, then 50% of the amount that exceeds such 10% of the paid up capital together with the reserve and accumulated profit shall be deemed to be the income of such SSE for the income year, classifiable under the head income from other sources. So that should be the correct language. And this provision, the language should be amended accordingly, in my opinion. But since the National Board of Revenue has given a clarification with regard to that, you can follow that for your exam purposes. And here it was also said that the tax would be calculated at the rate of 45%, but that is a very easy thing, because whatever income is calculated, whether this is 7.5 lakhs or whether this is 42.50 lakhs, whatever the income is, you have to impose tax at the rate of 45% on that amount. So that's the whole issue. Then go to the question number 3. Mr. A started business in export of ready-made garments in the year 1985-86. He was given a quota by the Export Promotion Bureau of Bangladesh to export garments worth $1 lakh. However, in the course of operations, he faced some problems and sold out 50% of the quota to somebody else. But he showed an income amounting to 0 in his return for the concerned year. So what would be the calculation of income in the assessment order to be framed by the Deputy Commissioner of Taxes? So here, Mr. X is a businessman. He was engaged in the export of ready-made garments to the global market. And he was given a quota by the Export Promotion Bureau of the Ministry of Commerce. And the quota was worth $1 lakh. However, in the course of operations, he faced some problems and sold out 50% of the quota to somebody. 50% of the quota he transferred or sold out, whatever it is. So the value was $50,000. Because he faced some problems in manufacturing the products, and that's why he transferred the quota. But for the concerned year, he did not show any income from business. Now, what would be the calculation of income in the assessment, since he did not show any income? Here, a transaction has taken place. What was the transaction? Transaction was transfer of quota, which was worth $50,000. So maybe $50,000 means 40 lakhs of taka. So that was his income. Now, why should it be like that? It should be like that because there was a time when quota was in existence in the country, and the government exporters, they could not export their products to the global market in any quantity. They could not. There was a reason for that, because the developed world, especially the European Union and the USA, they imposed quota on the ready-made garment manufacturers of least developed countries or developing countries. Why? Because the garment factories in the developed world, they could not face competition in the global market. So they became non-competitive, or they started becoming non-competitive. But they were given time to phase out because of the non-competition. So the products of the least developed countries and the developing countries were not made open to the developed world at a time. They did not want to open the products to their countries at a time. They gave time to their factories so that they could close down their business phase-wise. So that's why they imposed quota on the least developed countries and developing countries. So how was the quota imposed on them? They decided that, say, 10 lakh quota worth US dollar 1 crore should be given to Bangladesh. So 10 lakh quota means, if you convert it into units, maybe 1 unit per quota, so 10 lakh units. That is the quota under which Bangladesh would export only ready-made garments worth 10 lakh units. Maybe its value would be a bit different, but the units should be 10 lakh. So what Bangladesh could do, or Bangladesh did at that time, Bangladesh distributed all these quotas, that is 1 lakh quota or 10 lakh quota, whatever it is, the whole quota was distributed among the manufacturers of ready-made garments. The government decided about the distribution of the quota. They selected the ready-made garments which were capable of manufacturing ready-made garments and were able to export those to the European market or American market. So maybe Bangladesh had 20 garment factories, let us suppose, and 1 lakh quota that was distributed among the 20 ready-made garments. So these 20 ready-made garments, they were able to export the products to the European Union plus the USA. So if any one of the companies was unable to export the products under the quota, it could decide to transfer the quota to another company so that that company would be able to export the quotas, export the products to the developed world. In that case, it would be treated as an income on the part of the SSC who transferred the quota to another person. So how the income would be calculated? The value of the quota and 3% of the value of the quota would be taxed. That means it would be treated as his income and would be taxed. So that was the system that time. And the Clothing and Textile Act 1974, that act actually was introduced by the developed world to restrict the export of ready-made garments to their countries. And this was in prevalence in 1980s. And the quota system was abolished in 2005. In 2005, from the first day of July, there was no quota system available. So that's why from that time, least developed countries and developing countries who are able to export the ready-made garments in any quantity. Before that, that was restricted. So now, you can ask me one question that it was prevalent in 1980s. So why we should learn it now? You should learn it now because in that period, there might have been some SSCs who transferred quotas, but they did not show their income from the transfer of the quota in their returns. So they avoided taxes or evaded taxes. So if you can find out that a businessman in 1980s transferred quotas to another fellow businessman, but did not show his income from the transfer of the quota, then what would happen? He did not submit the return. The assessment was not completed at that time. And if it is found out by the Deputy Commissioner of Taxes at this point of time, then assessment could be made or completed by the Deputy Commissioner of Taxes for that SSC. And in that case, the Deputy Commissioner of Taxes can issue a notice under Section 93 asking the SSC to submit his or her return for that assessment year, that is 1985-86 assessment year. And since the SSC did not submit his return and he was not assessed to tax, so that's why it is very much possible for the DCT to assess his income for that period. And that's why this provision is still in existence here. You might face such a problem. The DCT can face such a problem when he comes to know that an SSC of his jurisdiction did not show income from the transfer of quota in 1980s. Somehow or other, he did not show the income and did not file the return to the Deputy Commissioner of Taxes, and assessment was not completed by the Deputy Commissioner of Taxes for that period. So he can issue a notice under Section 93 and can assess his income for that period. So the relevant section in this case is 1923, Section 19, subsection 23. In this subsection, it is said that where during any income year an SSC, being an exporter of garments, transfers to any person the export quota or any part thereof allotted to him by the government, such portion of the export value of the garments exportable against the quota so transferred may be prescribed for this purpose, shall be deemed to be the income of the SSC for that income year, classifiable under the head income from business or profession. Whenever such a transfer had taken place and you have found out, in that case, you can assess the income of the SSC under Section 28, that is income from business. And the SSC would be assessed to tax under Section 28, read with Section 1923. So this is important for you to remember and should have this type of problem in your possession so that you can produce it in your examination when asked. So the background you should also know, because as a chartered accountant, you should have that knowledge in order to disseminate the knowledge to others. That is the Clothing and Textile Act 1974. and afterwards the MFA, multi-fiber arrangement, and which was abolished in 2005. After that, China, Vietnam, Bangladesh, and other countries, least developed and developing countries, they started exporting products to the developed world. But there were also some restrictions. These restrictions were different types of restrictions, and these were called rule of origin. What is rule of origin? That is, you can export the products to the developed world, but you should add some value, meaning that if you buy the fabrics directly from any other country and manufacture the shirt or any other garment and export them to the developed world, you cannot get the exemption of duty. You cannot get the exemption of duty means the importer cannot get the exemption of duty. So this is called the rule of origin. Rule of origin means where the product originated from. Since Bangladesh did not have cotton, so it was lacking in cotton, and hence if Bangladesh had to manufacture ready-made garments, it had to import cotton from other countries of the world. So as per rule of origin, this cotton is totally coming from another country. So we have to look at the value addition, how much value Bangladesh could add. If it is just, sewing the shirt after obtaining the fabrics, then value addition could be minimal, maybe 10%, not more than that. But whenever you are buying the cotton from another country and convert it into fabrics and then yarn, and then, from cotton to yarn, then fabrics, in that case, your value addition could be around 40%. So the condition was that whenever a least developed country wants to export its products to the European Union or USA, the value addition should be at least 30%. So you had to buy the cotton, then you had to convert it into yarn, then you had to convert it into fabrics, then you had to convert it into shirt, pant, etc. So it was actually 3-stage transformation at least. And later on, there was 2-stage transformation. That means you can buy the yarn, then convert it into fabrics, then convert it into the ready-made garment. It's 2-stage transformation. And again, it was simplified, and the simplified version of the transformation was single-stage transformation. The single-stage transformation means that you can buy the fabrics and convert it into, the ready-made garment. So that would be single-stage transformation. But the value addition should be 30%. So in that way, there were restrictions on the exportation of the products, especially ready-made garments, from least developed countries to the developed world. And as you know that the contribution of the ready-made garment sector to the export income of the country is very high. That is 84% of the export income comes from the ready-made garment sector and clothing sector. So that's why it's very important. So if restrictions are imposed on the exportation of the products from Bangladesh to the developed world, it would be a disastrous one. However, so you have known about the background and then the calculation of income if needed under this section. And now another problem which is given under number 4. Can the loan or advance given to a shareholder by the company in return of an advance conferred on the company by the shareholder be deemed as dividend in the hands of the shareholder? So a loan or advance was given to the shareholder of the company, and this was in return of an advance conferred on the company by the shareholder. So in that case, whether this would be treated as a dividend, that is the loan or advance money given to the shareholder, whether this would be treated as a dividend or not. In this case, we have to look at two things. One thing is that the advance money or loan money given by the company to the shareholder, maybe that was taka 20 lakhs, but this was given in return of something. This was given in return of something means the shareholder gave an advance to the company earlier, and that was the benefit that the company received from the shareholder. And now in exchange of that, the company is providing a loan to the shareholder. So the company is providing this loan in order to protect its interest. That means the company wants to protect the interest in the form of giving loan to the shareholder as it received loan earlier from the shareholder. So that's why it will not be treated as a dividend. Rather, it would be treated simply as an advance or a loan. This actually refers to a High Court case. So the name of the case is, I believe, Pradeep Kumar Malhotra, and that was a Delhi High Court case, I believe. So you can just refer it to some cases if there is any other case as well, but the decision should be like this, similar to this. And afterwards, if you look at the question number 5, would the provisions of deemed dividend be attracted in respect of financial transactions entered into the normal course of business? So here, this is just the question, but the fact of the case is not given here. I'm just explaining the fact of the case. The fact of the case is that a touring company, that means you can say tour operator. This company just books some of the hotels or resort centers, etc., on behalf of the big hotels, because there are people who stay in the hotel, and afterwards tour programs are actually arranged, and that program is arranged by the tour operator. So the hotel in which the people are staying, the tour operator arranges tour programs on behalf of the hotel. So the hotel actually gives them an amount of money as advance so that the tour operator can make a booking. So the tour operator receives some money from the hotel and then books different programs for the clients or for the customers. So now the issue is whether this advance taken from the hotel by the tour operators would be treated as dividend or not. This advance money taken by the tour operator from the hotel would not be treated as dividend because this is part of the normal operation of the business. The tour operator has to book some resorts or some recreational programs, and for that, it has to pay some money as an advance. Maybe 10% of the total value of the program should be given first to the recreational center or to the resorts. So that's why this is just for reservation or just for booking. Hence, it cannot be treated as any dividend. So that was the fact of the case. And the High Court also held that yes, such a booking could not be made without any money. So the money that was received by the tour operator from the hotel was part of his operation of business. So that's why this should be treated as dividend. Sorry, should not be treated as dividend. It should be part of the normal operation of the business, and it was an advance money that was given to the tour operator. And afterwards, that would be settled with the hotel, and advance money would have to be credited against the total bill submitted by the tour operating company. Then next issue is whether income of an SSC can be estimated without any basis. Sometimes you will see that the Deputy Commissioner of Taxes, when making an assessment, estimates income of SSCs without any basis, which is called a whimsical assessment. And the assessment is made without any natural justice. So, judicious mind of the deceit is not applied to. That's why the SSC would be suffering a lot. And it has to go for preferring an appeal against the order of the Deputy Commissioner of Taxes to the Appellate Joint Commissioner or Appellate Additional Commissioner of Taxes or to Commissioner of Taxes Appeals. So it's a troublesome job to be adopted by the SSC because it has to employ somebody as his representative or lawyer. And in that case, he has to pay money to the lawyer for representing him before the Appellate Joint Commissioner of Taxes or Appellate Additional Commissioner of Taxes, something like that. So the income of an SSC, question is income of an SSC, whether it could be estimated without any basis or not. So the answer is the income of an SSC could not be estimated without any basis, because wherever you are estimating an income, it should have some base. So what type of base is it? If you estimate an income of an SSC, you have to consult the previous record, past record. So you must have the past record of the SSC with you, and you can look at the income that was determined earlier. So if you find that the income was determined at Taka 20 lakhs in the previous year, now this year you cannot estimate that income at Taka 50 lakhs because there should be some sort of consistency between the two incomes. And whenever you are determining the income at Taka 50 lakhs, you should have some base. That means whether you have been able to prove that the SSC has got some other extra sources of income or not. If the SSC has got some other sources of income, in that case, you can say that, okay, this SSC showed one source of income in the past. Now it has been proved that he has got two more sources of income, which he did not show previously. And in that case, you can send your inspector of taxes to the place of business to determine the income that is earned by the SSC. So if the inspector of taxes finds out that the SSC has got two other sources of income, which he did not show earlier, in that case, he can estimate income from these two additional sources. In that case, your income should be determined at a higher figure. But the question is whether it could be estimated without any basis. It cannot be estimated without any basis, because whenever the inspector is sent to the place of business, it means that the inspector has gone to the field, has gone to the place of business and inquired about it, or talked to people around him whether the SSC has got any other source of income or not. And some documentary evidences should have been collected by the inspector of taxes. Afterwards, he can make a report to the deputy commissioner of taxes, and in that case, the deputy commissioner of taxes would estimate the income of the SSC. But without any basis, without detecting any evasion, the DCT cannot estimate the income. If he estimates the income without any basis, in that case, he will violate the principle of natural justice. And that would be construed as misconduct. That means if you calculate the income and make the assessment under Section 84, then the National Board of Revenue can evaluate the performance of the DCT, or can just evaluate the process or the procedure of the assessment. And if it is found out that the SSC did not apply his mind, in that case, his assessment would be treated or construed as misconduct. So if it is misconduct, in that case, the city could be called for an explanation, and disciplinary action could be taken against him, and he may be barred from having promotion, or his increments could be held up, or he could be made officer on special duty. His function of assessment would be withdrawn. So all these actions could be taken against him. So without any basis, the city cannot make an assessment or cannot estimate income. Then number 7, whether opportunity should be given to the SSC to explain his position when the DCT wants to enhance the declared income. Declared income which is made by the SSC is shown in the income tax return. And whenever the income is shown in the income tax return, and the return is accepted by the Deputy Commissioner of Taxes, in that case, he would have to issue notice under Section 79, under Section 80, under Section 83(1), etc. So, declared income shown by the SSC, although not accepted by the Deputy Commissioner of Taxes, he can enhance the income.
আমার গাড়ি একদিন বুঝছেন একটু পর বন্ধ হয়ে যায়, গাড়ি কোনো সমস্যা নাই, তারপরে তাই ঠিক আছে আর একটা ভাই আমার গ্যাসটা খারাপ কি গ্যাস মিশাই হচ্ছে ইয়ার মিশাইছে এটা
So the receipt can enhance the income by evaluating the SSC's activities. Declared income can be accepted by the DCT whenever he thinks that there is not any requirement of evidence with regard to the support of the income shown by the SSC. And the DCT is satisfied that the income shown by the SSC is correct, genuine, and with some documentary evidence. But whenever he thinks that the declared income is not correct and complete, or it does not reflect the true position of the business, in that case, he can enhance the income, but he has to be given an opportunity to the SSC of being heard. That means the SSC has to be given an opportunity in order to prove by himself that the income shown by him in the return was correct or accurate. So the city can ask for vouchers, receipts, books of accounts, bank statements, wealth statement, or he can require the SSC to appear before him in person or to be represented by a lawyer or chartered accountant, whatever. So in that way, the DCT should act in order to enhance the income of the SSC. Under section 79, the SSC should, the DCT should issue a notice to the SSC asking him to submit vouchers, receipts, bank statements, or other evidences in support of the income. And again, the DCT should issue notice under section 80 asking the SSC to submit the wealth statement. If the SSC submits the wealth statement, he will show total assets owned by him and the total liabilities that he has to pay to the other people.
এমন কি এলপিজি আবার ইয়া করতে হয় এই কনভার্সন করে বানাইতে হয় এটা লাগাইতে হয় এলপিজি
Can you please mute it?
Please unmute it. Please.
এলপিজি এর কে যে বাস করে নেই বাস করে না আমি তো
দয়া করে
ইতালিয়ান কিচিটিয়া করাইতে কইলো যে 2000 টাকা নেই ওইটা সবচেয়ে ভালো ওইটা এমডি আছে না এমআরতে এটা আমাদের এলাকার আর কি জন্য এর কাছে গেছি পরে দেখি যে হ্যাঁ আমার 3000 বেশি না রাখছে আমার কোম্পানি একটু আরো দিয়ে কমে করতে 2000 ইয়ান থেকে আল্লাহ আর এই গ্যাস করতে গেলে আবার ওই নিচে তো সব জায়গা আর আইডল একটা বসে আইডল একটা প্রমোট আপনি গাইতে আইডল করে চেঞ্জ করতে চাচ্ছেন হাসিয়া রাখতে এরা তো সাধারণত অ্যাটিটিউডটা সবচেয়ে ভালো ইতালিয়ান কি কি দেলা অলরেডি তাহলে ভালোটাতেই লাগে বুঝেন না তেলের দাম বাড়াতে একটা এসপিসি আর গ্যাসের যে লাইন এই অবস্থা গ্যাস আচ্ছা এলপিজি ভালো তাই না কম বেশি আপনার 57 টাকা আমরা 56 টাকা 93 পয়সা 55 টাকা ঠিক ছিল ভয় লাগে আর কি আর কোন সময় করে দেন না
রিকোয়েস্ট সেভেন না আপনার এটা আনমিউট করুন ক্লাসে বিঘ্ন ঘটতে
আপনি ওই পিছরে একটা আছে
এটা তো মনে হয় বুঝতে পারে না, এটা তো আচ্ছা দেখি এটাকে সেন্ট্রালি অফ করে দিচ্ছি।
গ্যাসই থাকে
হ্যাঁ ইয়ে কই
বেরোতে পারলে গ্যাস বেরিয়েছে গ্যাস থাকে পরশুদিন এই পাপটা গ্যাস পেয়ে তার আগে এলপিজি নিয়ে তো অনেক সমস্যা আছে ঢাকার বাইরে একদিন ওই যে ইউনিভার্সাল আছে না একটা এলপিজি ইউনিভার্সাল এএমডি করে যে ভাই আমার 100 ইনভেস্ট হয়েছে, আমি কোনো ব্যবসা করতেছি না, বসুন্ধরা সব ব্যবসা করতেছে এই সেই, হ্যাঁ আমাদের পুরো লস, আমরা যারা লাইক
Okay, as we were discussing earlier, that the district can issue a notice under section 80 or 79 or 83(1) in order to make an assessment. So all these notices have to be issued to the SSC in order to calculate the income and should have a basis by the Deputy Commissioner of Taxes. So if he issues a notice under section 80, it is also necessary for him to understand how much expenditure the SSC incurred during the income year. So in the statement of assets and liabilities, you will see the SSC would incorporate the assets and properties which is owned or which are owned by him, and also the liabilities he will have to pay to the external people. And at the same time, he has to show his family expenditure. That means the number of members of his family has to be incorporated, and he has to mention the heads of expenditure. That is the expenditure who is incurring under the head accommodation, food, conveyance, medical treatment, educational expenditure for children, etc. So the total expenditure has to be calculated first or estimated first by the DCT. So one expenditure, of course, the SSC would be showing in the wealth statement, but it is the responsibility of the Deputy Commissioner of Taxes whether this expenditure is the genuine one or not. So whenever different heads are given to the SSC to show the expenditure, and if the DCT knows that the expenditure that has been shown by the SSC or estimated by him, the income does not cover it. That means the income that is being shown by the SSC does not cover it. In that case, he can estimate the income, because without income, the expenditure could not be incurred. So that's why this could be one of the weapons by which the DCT could estimate the income and enhance the income. And again, the DCT could issue notice under section 83(1) in order to ask the SSC to appear before him in person or to be represented by an income tax lawyer or advocate or chartered accountant in order to prove the income which has been shown in the return. So this is the procedure, how the DCT should proceed with the assessment. If he can proceed with the assessment in that way, in that case, he can enhance the declared income shown by the SSC. Otherwise, he cannot. Then question number 8. SSC, neither legal or beneficial owner of a property, whether capital gain can be imposed in the hands or exchange of that property with another property. So here just a gist form has been given, but actually the case is a little bit different, and that case is in fact two properties were exchanged with each other. That means Mr. A owns a property and Mr. B owns another property. So Mr. A decided to exchange his property with that one of Mr. B, but no monetary transaction took place. Mr. A did not take any money from Mr. B, and at the same time, Mr. B did not take any money from Mr. A, but they exchanged their properties because of their mutual convenience. So whenever such an exchange takes place, whether capital gain can arise or not, in this case also capital gain can arise, because the property owned by Mr. A is sold out to Mr. B. So the value of the property has to be calculated or determined by the Deputy Commissioner of Taxes. And at the same time, the acquisition price of that property would have to be calculated. If the record is there with regard to the acquisition price, it's fine. It will be deducted from the determined sale value. Otherwise, if it was inherited by him, so at the time of inheritance, the market value of the property would be calculated or determined by the DCT as well. So in either way, the capital gain would be calculated in case of the SSC number 1, that means A. And similarly, in case of B, his property value will be determined or estimated, and his acquisition price of the property would also be deducted from the estimated value of the property. That means sale value of the property. In that case, capital gain would also arise in his case. So both the capital gains would be taken into account whenever they are exchanging. So in case of A, capital gain may be 25 lakhs taka, and in case of B, capital gains could be 30 lakhs taka, something like that. So whenever exchange takes place, it means that I have sold out my property and I have again purchased one property at the same time. So here you will see that section 32 says about the investment of the capital gain in purchasing another asset. So when Mr. A is selling out his property or exchanging his property with that of Mr. B, in that case, he is selling his property and again purchasing another property. So when capital gain has been calculated by the DCT, and if the capital gain has been entirely invested in purchase of the property, the capital gain has been fully utilized in purchase of another property. And in case of B as well, he has also invested the full amount of the capital gain in purchasing another property. So the ownership or the purchase of the properties has taken place instantly, and it is within the time under section 32(5). So since the property has been transferred under section 32(5), capital gain tax would not be imposed by the Deputy Commissioner of Taxes, although these are exchanges of the properties. So that's the whole thing. You have to refer to section 32(5) in order to calculate the capital gain tax and also for exemption purposes. Question number 9, whether family expenses of an SSC could be estimated behind his back. Behind his back means the city can estimate the expenditure of the SSC in his absence. That means the SSC's portion of expenditure was not accepted by the Deputy Commissioner of Taxes. Rather, what he did in the absence of the SSC, he just calculated the expenditure or estimated the expenditure, and tax was calculated. So if it is done by the Deputy Commissioner of Taxes, whatever justification could be placed by him, whether it is a natural justice, whether he has applied his judicious mind to the assessment or not. Family expenses, of course, is very important for you. You have to show your family expenditure under different heads, and sometimes you have to submit a return which is called IT10BB. So there is a form you have to submit to the Deputy Commissioner of Taxes. And in the form, you have to mention about the heads of expenditure, what expenditures you incurred, whether you had 2 or 3 heads of expenditure or you had 6 or 7 heads of expenditure. That means the expenditure for your food, for accommodation, for medical treatment, for education of your children, for traveling, or for hosting receptions, or for attending social functions, etc. So you have to mention about the expenditure. And the legal provision is that whenever you have got an income exceeding taka 4 lakh, in that case, you have to submit IT10BB. That means statement of expenditure you have to submit before the Deputy Commissioner of Taxes. And also the provision of section 80 says that you have to submit the wealth statement or the statement of assets and liabilities if your gross wealth or gross asset exceeds taka 40 lakh. So there is no mention of liability here. Rather, if you have a gross wealth of an amount exceeding taka 40 lakhs, in that case, you have to submit the wealth statement, wherein you have to show everything. The total assets you have to show, the total liabilities you have to show, and the expenditure as well. And as I have said to you, that whenever your income exceeds taka 4 lakh, in that case, you have to submit the IT10BB, wherein you have to show your expenditure. And the DCT, while calculating the annual expenditure or family expenditure, he should give an opportunity to the SSC. That means, as I have said to you, that notice under section 80 could be issued by the Deputy Commissioner of Taxes so that he could understand the amount of expenditure incurred by the SSC himself. And under section 80, the SSC could submit the statement of assets and liabilities, and the analysis could be made by the Deputy Commissioner of Taxes. What accretion has taken place in his net worth and what expenditure he has incurred during the whole year. So the accretion is very important for the DCT to calculate. What is the accretion? The accretion is you have to calculate the net wealth first or net asset first by deducting the total liabilities from the total assets the SSC owns. So net asset or net wealth has to be calculated first, and you have to calculate the net asset or net wealth for the previous year. Previous year, the SSC should have shown the total assets and the total liabilities. So net worth or net asset could also be calculated by the DCT. And the difference between the two net worths or net assets should be found out. So let us suppose that the net worth was taka 800 in the previous year, and this year net worth has stood at taka 1000. So the net accretion in the net worth has come to taka 200. And the expenditure of the SSC would be calculated at taka 500. So accretion in the net worth is taka 200 plus the expenditure is 500. So the total of accretion in net worth and expenditure has come to taka 700. So this 700 taka has to be covered by the total income of the SSC. So if the income of the SSC does not cover this, then DCT would ask the SSC to explain it, how he got that amount, the additional amount. And if the SSC cannot explain satisfactorily about the source of that additional income or additional amount that he has, the additional income would be treated as income from other source under section 33, read with section maybe any subsection of section 19 in the relevant case. If not, that it would be treated as income under section 33 only. So here the family expenditure, in order to enhance it by the Deputy Commissioner of Taxes, the SSC has to be given an opportunity of explaining his position. Why his expenditure is so meager, or why his expenditure is so moderate. So if the DCT thinks that the income of the SSC is taka 20 lakhs per year, but his expenditure, what he has shown, is taka 2 lakh only for the whole year. So how come this is so meager? So the SSC has to be asked for an explanation with regard to that. And if the SSC can explain it properly or satisfactorily, in that case, the DCT can accept it. Otherwise, he can enhance it. So what the SSC would explain here? The SSC would explain that I live in my father's house. I do not have any family member of my own to support. Whatever income I earn is for myself, or just a certain portion of it, a little portion of it is given to my father, and I am still unmarried, something like that. So if such person seems to be correct to the Deputy Commissioner of Taxes, in that case, he can accept it. That okay, the SSC does not have anyone to support. In that case, his expenditure would be minimal because he is also living in his father's house. He does not have to pay for his own accommodation. And maybe the office also provides him a card so that he does not have any conveyance allowance. So that's why the expenditure which he has shown could be minimal. So under that circumstances, the DCT would not enhance the income, sorry, would not enhance the expenditure shown by the SSC. Otherwise, if the DCT thinks that the SSC is earning a certain amount of money, but he has got a lot of expenditure to incur. He has got accommodation expenditure, he has got conveyance expenditure, he has got educational expenditure, he has got expenditure for attending social functions, etc. So in that case, his expenditure could be at least 10 lakh taka per year, but his income is taka 5 lakh or income is taka 6 lakh. So definitely the DCT would ask for an explanation from the SSC how he got that income which does not support the expenditure, and how he supports the expenditure, what source of income he has in addition to the income he has shown in the return. So in that case, the SSC has to explain it properly, that I have got one income from my salary, but in order to support my family, I receive some support from my father or from my mother or from my father-in-law or from my brother who is residing in the United States. So in that way, I support my family. And if the argument given by the SSC is satisfactory or seems to be acceptable to the Deputy Commissioner of Taxes, so he can accept it. In that circumstances, of course, he can enhance the expenditure, but the source of fund is also accepted by the DCT. That means the SSC got support from his father-in-law, got support from father, got support from his brother. In that case, he can maintain his expenditure. So it is acceptable. But evidence should be produced by the SSC himself in order to support his claim. That's the whole scenario. Then come to the question number 10. SSC's accounting year ended on 30th September 1983. Whether his income tax assessment to be completed under the provisions of the Income Tax Act 1922 or under the Income Tax Act 1984. As you know that the Income Tax Ordinance 1984 was introduced on the first day of July 1984. So the question here is that the accounting year ended on 30th September 1983. So whenever the income tax ordinance was introduced in 1984, in that case, the SSC should have been assessed to tax under the income tax ordinance 1984. But however, that period was a transition period. And whenever a new act or ordinance is introduced, the provisions of the previous income tax ordinance or act shall stand valid. So if an action was taken by the DCT and if treatment was made by him as per the previous Income Tax Act 1922, that should also stand valid. So that is the question, because it was in the transition period. Otherwise, in the normal period, the income tax ordinance, that means the Finance Act, should have retrospective effect. That means whenever the Finance Act is passed by the Parliament, in that case, the activities of an SSC would be controlled or regulated by the Finance Act. So it means that it has got a retrospective effect on the incomes of the SSC with the introduction of the Finance Act each year. Question number 11, when books of accounts can be rejected? That is a question which you should answer. When books of accounts could be rejected? When books of accounts could be rejected? So that might have some factors. It should not be that you have got only one factor. You could have maybe a number of factors. Think of it and tell me what are the factors that have to be taken into account for rejecting the books of accounts. We take a break for 10 minutes and then you think over it, then we decide what should be the answer.